Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be learning how to make this cold shoulder pleated dress with a bishop collar. So for this dress we're going to start by drafting the front bodies and then we'll go ahead to draft the back. So as you all can see, I've drafted my starting line at the top of the material, and from that start line I came down by marking the chest line, the bust line, under bust line, waistline plus half an inch allowance. And then when I was done, I went ahead to connect them all with a ruler. And after that, I labeled the lines. After that, on the start line, I came in by 3 inches and also came down by 3 inches, and then I connected both points together to form my neckline. The next thing I went ahead to do was to mark half of my shoulder measurement plus half an inch allowance on both the start line and the chest line, and then I connected the 2 points together. Now on the shoulder line, I came down by half an inch and connected it to the neckline to form my shoulder slope, and then on that straight line I found the midpoint, came out by half an inch, and on the chest line I marked quarter of my bust measurement plus half an inch allowance, and then I connected all these points together to form my armhole curve. Now for the darts, I went ahead to mark half of my client's nipple to nipple measurements plus half an inch sewing allowance on the waistline, the under bust line and the bust line. Now I added half an inch because we are drafting this directly on the fabric. After that, because this is a bustier dress, I marked half an inch on the inner part of the dress, and then on the other side of the dress I marked 1.5 inch for the darts on both the waistline and the under bust line. And then on the bust line I came down by half an inch, and using a curved rule from that half an inch I connected it to the 2 lines that I drew. After that, I connected the dart line on the bust line to the midpoint of my armhole curve using a curved rule. And after connecting it on that line on the armhole curve, I came in on both sides by half an inch, and then on the bust line I came up by half an inch just to eliminate any pointiness, and then I connected those 2 darts on the armhole back to the line on the bust line. So now we formed like a dart on the armhole region. So since we are cutting this out, I came up by the 1 inch dart we made from the armhole curve, and then I connected it back to the chest line. Now that we're done with that, the next thing I went ahead to do was to mark the body measurements on the dress. So on the chest line, I came in by quarter of my chest measurements plus 1 inch for the darts, 1 inch sewing allowance for the darts, and 1.5 sewing allowance for the dress. So the same thing I marked on the chest line, I marked on the bust line. And then on the waistline, I came in by quarter of my client's waist measurements plus 2 inch for the darts, and then 1 inch for sewing allowance of the darts, and 1.5 inch for sewing allowance of the dress. After marking it all, I went ahead to connect the points together. Now on the waistline, because our front waistline is longer than that of the back, I came up by the difference between my front and back waistline. I also came in by the sewing 1.5 inch sewing allowance, and then I just blended it to the full length of the front. So if we connect this to the back, the sides would align with the side of the back. And when I was done with that, I went ahead to cut out the material. Now for the back, I started again by drafting my start line. From the start line again, I went ahead to mark the various points of the back bodies, which are the chest line, the bust line, the waistline, and allowance. So for the back, we're not going to be marking any under bust because there is no bust at the back. So after that, I went ahead to mark the measurements again, and then I connected it all with a ruler. After that, from the top of the fabric, I marked 1 inch all the way to the down and connected it together. This is going to serve as my zipper allowance line. And then when I was done with that, I came in from that line by 3 inches and came down by 1 inch and connected it together to form the neckline of the back. From the line again, I came in by half of my shoulder measurement plus half an inch allowance, marked that again on the chest line and connected them both together. And then on the chest line, I came in by quarter of my bust measurement plus half an inch allowance. And then I connected it to the midpoint of the line we drew. On the shoulder line, I came down by half an inch and connected it to the neckline to form my shoulder slope. From the slope, I came up by half an inch and connected it to form my shoulder joint allowance. Now on the waistline, I came in by 1 inch and then I connected it to the start line, the top of the pattern. Now this I do to eliminate any form of bulginess at the waist region. And after forming the slanted line, I came in from that slanted line by 1 inch to retrace my zipper allowance line. Now from the second line, I went ahead to mark the various body measurements. On the waistline, I marked quarter of the waist measurement plus 1 inch for that and 1.5 inch for sewing allowance. And then on the chest and bust line, I just marked quarter of my bust measurement plus 1.5 inch sewing allowance. And when I was done, I went ahead to cut it out. So this is it for the back. I'll use this to cut the main fabric. Now for the sewing, starting with the front, I went ahead to place right sides together and then I went ahead to sew it up. After sewing it together, this is what we have. As you all can see, I also attached a padding to this. If you want to see how to attach a padding perfectly, I have a video on that. Now that I'm done joining the front, the next thing I went ahead to do was to bring the lining, which I also joined as well. And then placing right sides together, I'll just go ahead and turn just the sides. Now for the back, we'll start by drafting the dart at the back. So to locate the dart point, I first of all came in by 1 inch for my zip allowance, and from there I marked the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. Then from the top of the back, I also went ahead to locate the chest line. I marked that down and then I also came in by the nipple to nipple measurements and then I connected both points together. Now I came in on the side of the line by half an inch, which is for the darts, and then I connected it to the top of the line. And when I was done connecting it, I'll just sew from the down all the way to the up of the line. Now this same thing I do, I'm going to do it for the other side of the back. As you all can see, I sewed the darts on both sides of the back as well as for the lining. Now the next thing I went ahead to do was to place them right sides facing each other and then I went ahead to sew just on the sides. Now as you all can see, I'm done turning the front over, but I left just the neckline because we're going to be attaching a collar. As for the back as well, I did the same thing by turning just the sides and leaving the neckline over. Now for the back, I also did not turn the up part of the armhole region because we needed to turn the shoulder of the front while sewing them together. So as you all can see, I used the shoulder of the back to wrap the shoulder of the front, and then after wrapping, I went ahead to sew it together. Now I'm done sewing and this is how the joint shoulders turned out. After that, the next thing I went ahead to do was to turn the back to the wrong side so that I can close up the space I left in the armhole. After that, I went ahead to pleat this material for the down part of the dress. So in total, for both the front and the back of the dress, I used like 2 and 3/4 yards of material for the pleating. But if you want to know the accurate amount of material to use for any pleating, I have a detailed video on that. I will leave that in the description box. Now I've gone ahead to attach the pleats to both the front and the back of the dress. As for the armhole, I've closed out any opening. And then the next thing we're going to do is to attach pockets to this dress. Yes, I made pockets for the dress. So here are like 4 pieces of material that I cut out for the pocket. So on the waistline, I just like started from there and placed the pocket and sewed it down. So this same thing I did on this side, I'll do this on all the 4 sides of the dress. Now I've gone ahead to attach the pocket pieces as you all can see, and I did that for both sides of the dress. After that, the next thing we're going to do is to attach a collar to this dress. So the first thing to do before attaching a collar is to measure the round neck of your collar. So I went ahead to measure the round measurements of the neckline, and what I got was 18 inches. So after measuring, I used that to cut out this collar as you all can see. So because of time, I'm actually like cutting short all this tutorial, but I also posted a video on how to cut and sew a bishop collar as well as a turtleneck collar. Moving on the neckline of the dress, I went ahead to locate the midpoint and notched it. As for the collar I made, I also located the midpoint and notched it as well. Now, starting from the wrong side of the dress, I placed both midpoints to midpoints and then I sewed it all around the neckline. Now I'm done sewing on the wrong side, as you all can see. So the next thing I went ahead to do was to fold the collar over to the right side of the dress, and then I went ahead to sew it down. Now this is our collar after sewing. You can see how neat it looks. So the next thing I went ahead to do was to attach our zipper. But before attaching our zipper, I went ahead to sew the down part of the dress together using the allowance needed, and then when I'm done sewing it down, I'll go ahead and attach our zipper in the space remaining. So as you all can see, I'm done sewing the zipper and I'm done joining the down part of the dress as well. So as for the collar side, the zip was a bit short to start from there, so I just started below the collar. Later I will attach a button to the collar side. Now that we're done with that, it's time for us to sew our dress together. So placing both armhole together and waistline together, I'll go ahead and sew this down using the sewing allowance I added. Now for the sleeve, initially I wanted to make this a cape sleeve which goes round the shoulder, but then my client said she wanted a cold shoulder sleeve. So as you all can see, I cut out a flare for this, but this time around, since it's a cape sleeve, I made sure that the up part of the flare was enough for just to fit the round arm measurement, which is the round bicep measurement. And then on the dress from the shoulder, I came down by her calf's height, and from that calf's height, I placed one side of the sleeve and sewed it down. Then at the back of the dress, I also came down from the shoulder to the calf's height region, but this time around I made it to be half an inch higher than where I marked it at the front. And then from there, I went ahead to sew the sleeve all the way down to where the armhole stopped. Now as you all can see, I'm done sewing the sleeve, and then the next thing I'll go ahead and do is to join the remaining sides together. Now I'm done sewing the sleeves and this is what we have. So for the sleeve, before attaching it to the dress, please make sure to hem both the up and the down parts of it. Now for the collar, as you all can see, I've also gone ahead to attach a button and a button holder to it. So with this, now we have come to the end of our sewing tutorial. So if you found my video helpful, please like, comment, share and subscribe to get more of my videos. And I'm going to see you all in my next one. Thank you and bye.